Welcome back to another episode of Ribs Real Estate Ramblings with Roy May. Obviously, that's me, your host. We're coming to you from Cooper's Old Time Pit Barbecue in Aggieland. It's right here off the bypass. Anytime you're in town, I highly recommend you come by, grab some barbecue. The Wooten family that run it, they're fantastic human beings. Today, I've got somebody that's going to 10,000 times outshine me because this is literally his job and what he does because he is a media personality and director of broadcast media. Is that correct?
Yeah, but you outshine me every time you come on my show. So, I mean, it's payback, baby.
So he's the host of TexAgs, and we were talking about, I can't believe it's been 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
That's it's one of those weird.
Almost 2 years and 2 months.
Where does the time go? That's insane. So we're just going to kind of talk a little bit like I always say, there's no better way in the state of Texas to have a conversation than over, some barbecue, right? No matter where you get barbecue, just, So we're going to get going. I'm going to try and ask you some questions that people can't necessarily just Google.
Okay.
But I will say, so I do my research. I try and do a little bit of a deep dive on my guest. And you're a little bit hard to find.
Really?
Yeah, I was like I can find you, but there's also I'll say a good number of David Nuno's.
One committed suicide in San Diego. That's not me.
There's a bunch down in Houston. There's one's like a financial advisor.
He's really smart. Yeah.
So,
better looking.
And we'll get to Houston. But so David's class of '99.
Yep.
And you got your degree in
broadcast journalism.
Absolutely.
From Texas A&M.
And my question was, just before I get going, the first question is, at what point did you know you wanted to do broadcast journalism? Was it before you went to A&M?
Oh, yeah.
I
knew when I was 8 years old.
Really?
I always knew I was going to do this. And the only time I questioned it was when I graduated college and I realized I wasn't very good at it. Like that, and some would say I'm still not very good at it. But yeah, I knew as an 8-year-old, I used to call, there was a show in Houston called Late Night with Mr. Wish. Bernard Wishnow was the host of this show. He later went on to own a place called Wishes, which was a swingers bar. But I knew him as a general talk show host guy, right? So he would do politics, sometimes sprinkle in some sports. Well,
is it radio calling or is it
yeah,
television?
It was on AM 700 KSEV, okay? So I would stay up till midnight in middle school and call his show under different voices and always ask about the Oilers, right?
Love You Blue.
Love You Blue, right?
Right.
This was more during the Warren Moon days, right? The run and shoot, the Kevin Gilbrides, the Buddy Ryan,
Jeffries, the Curtis Duncan, the electric slide,
Ernest Givens, you name it, right? That group of Oilers. So I would call all the time because I didn't miss an Oilers game. Hey, first time on the radio. Am I good? Am I good? All right.
We're good.
It's going to fall.
It's going to fall.
It's going to fall.
But we'll go with it.
It'll be good content.
So you're calling it different voices.
Yeah. So, and eventually Bernard or Mr. Wishwoods were like, hey, would you like to come in sometime? So he invited me to co-host the show one day. It was 1988.
What?
Yeah, I was 12 years old. I was in 6th grade, 1988. I remember my parents took me to go eat at Papa. It was a Friday night. Took me to Papa Do's to go eat. And from Papa Do's across the street was the KSEV offices. And I went and I did the show and I got hooked immediately. And I remember most of the callers were nice. Some of them were on our message board, I think, because some of them were not so nice. Like one guy called and goes, "What makes you so smart to be on the radio? Tell me the different types of clouds, boy." And this is a true story, but I'm not making any of this up. And I forgot Stratus. I don't know why I remember that, but I forgot. In that moment, I froze. Like 12 years old, I forgot. But I got the bug, and I remember I felt like I had this partnership with Mr. Wish, so I thought I could come anytime. And I remember once just randomly showing up on a Friday night, running up, and they're like, "What are you doing here?" I was hoping to do the show. But that's kind of where it started.
Right.
I think it was October of '88. And then, just listening to sports radio my whole life, watching SportsCenter my whole life. Every time I played Madden or NBA Live, I was commenting during the whole game. I was doing a post-game show. My brother would be like, "Stop, nobody's listening." I would record myself. I recorded myself. My dad had a shortwave radio that he brought from Cuba that, in my mind, I thought when I went on the shortwave side, people could hear me because you could hook up a microphone.
Right.
And I'd do fake shows all the time with my friends. And they were terrible co-hosts, but I was really good. And that's what started it.
Well, that's why you invite them on, though. The worse they are, the better you look.
Absolutely, until I started bringing you on, and then I realized I work better. But I did that, and I knew then I was going to be a broadcast. I was going to get in broadcast. So I get to Texas A&M, and of course, I pick business. And there's a reason behind this. My brother's like, my brother Alex went to A&M, class of '92. He's like, "Do you really want to be a nomad, make no money, and move around the country and be a loser?" That's kind of how he phrased it. because I think he didn't think I was going to make it big, right?
Thanks for the pep talk.
Right. No, but he had my back. He's like, or do you want to be financially stable and be able to stay in Houston? And because broadcasters are like the FBI, you don't usually stay in your market, right? You got to go somewhere else.
That might be the only time, really the only thing that maybe they share in common.
Right.
But
But am I right?
Basically, just like the FBI.
I got an FBI story for you too in this story because I did try out. All right, so I studied business.
We never got to see David Nuno on Criminal Minds.
No, there's still time.
Devastated.
So I studied business for a year, and I'm terrible at it, and it'll be a theme in this story. My junior year, I was like, whatever, they don't know what they're talking about. My parents, I mean, they're smart, and my brothers are a lot smarter than I am, makes a lot of money, but I know what I can do, and I can talk, and I know sports. So I then, of course, get an internship in, no, not sports, at Power 94, the only station that gives a jam. It was here in Brazos Valley, and it was a rap station. And in fact, I reached out to the old GM from back in the day. He's still in town, just to chit chat with him. And they gave me an internship that during the show at night, the guy's name was Mozak. He would do like music, and then every once in a while I'd do a news update or a sports update, and I started getting my fix like that. So I reach out to Chip Howard. He's looking for a producer. Chip's a legend in the market.
Right.
And Chip lets me be his call screener / producer. And that's really where it started, at least from a College Station standpoint. I got to go cover Rangers opening day, 1998, I believe it was, Rangers White Sox. And my first interview was George W. Bush as the president of, but when I say interview, I mean, I had my recorder while 20 other media members were asking questions. I was just there.
But still.
But I was there, right? And I didn't know he was going to be president later, right? I would have talked to him a little bit more. But that's kind of how it all got started.
It would have been different questions.
Yeah, it would have been a little different. And then Chip would send me places to cover. And I'm still to this day indebted to him. And he also taught me, he didn't realize he taught me this, but he taught me how to sneak into things. Because I graduated. And I was a banker because I couldn't get a TV or radio job. I became a banker at Chase Bank, the world's worst banker. Like literally, and they kept on giving me raises because I think my brother worked at the bank, so they felt bad. But I legit learned how to get credentials to events that I wasn't really covering, and I said I was covering. So I'd be like, WTAW AM 1150 College Station, I'm coming to cover the Rockets. That's when Barkley was there, Pippen was there a lot. And I'd go to the West Side Tennis Club and just be in the environment. I wasn't doing it to be get autographs. I just wanted to act like a media member, and I did it. And I was there with Charles and Scotty. It was amazing. It was an amazing run. But I think you were trying to get into how I got into it. Am I right? Am I massaging my way through it? Because there's more to the story, but that's how I knew when I was 12, and I manifested it throughout my years in high school and in college to at least get me in the arena.
And then also while you were a banker. A banker, broadcast journalist, really.
Well, a banker who was looking for TV jobs while he was banking.
That's fair.
That was 1999, 2000. Mark Cuban had just bought the Mavericks.
And then the story goes, and this I did find online, is that you sent a blind email to Mark Cuban.
Yeah.
And
Daniel Snyder.
Oh, well, I only saw Cuban maybe because that was the one that landed, so they don't talk about the other. Daniel Snyder.
Yeah, so just so you know the background.
Dan Snyder.
That Dan Snyder. They were on, I think it was on CNN, it was a town hall about the direction of sports, and they were both kind of new owners at the time. Mm-hmm. And if you remember, Mark was all over the place, drinking beer with the fans, answering emails, and both he and Snyder said, we're we're one with the people. So I emailed both Cuban and Snyder on the same day. And I say this joke all the time, and I mean it. I'm still waiting for Snyder to respond. But Mark Cuban responded that day, within hours.
I got to be honest, the more we learn about Dan Snyder, I wouldn't be holding your breath waiting on that email return. I don't know that he's necessarily a man of the people.
Well, Mark is.
Well, clearly.
Yeah, and without Mark, I mean, there's a theme here. Without Mr. Wish, swinger guy, without Chip Howard, and without Mark Cuban, I'm not here today. You're not talking to me.
Life, we can all work as hard as we want to, but life still comes down to sometimes who you know, who you're fortunate enough to work with, who in your life is nice enough and professional enough and giving and caring enough to help people in industry, and that's any industry, right?
Right.
Okay, so you went TV, radio, right?
Kind of. So Mark gave me an internship with the Mavs. It was a game day internship, and I was in the building. And they also shared the reunion arena with the Dallas Stars. So indoor soccer was there.
Oh, yeah.
And I didn't work for the Stars, but they knew me at the Stars and recommended me for a job in San Diego with the San Diego Sockers. So that's how I got into sports. It was a quick internship with the Mavericks, which parlayed into the director of communications for a soccer team, which I really wasn't qualified for, but it was a small league, so I made it work. Then I got laid off, and I went to Houston, and I interned for the Rockets again, and now I'm 25 years old, interning again.
Right.
In the war room when they draft Yao Ming. It was awesome, a great experience. I'm there for a few months. When the Mavericks opened up a new position, and the way it was explained to me, they thought of me when this position was opened up. Will Patton's like, when I came up with this idea, he was the hiring manager. I thought of you because when I worked at the Mavericks, they always paired me up with Eduardo Nájera, who was a big deal with the Mavs at the time.
Right.
First Mexican-born player to be in the NBA. I did a lot of appearances with him. I speak Spanish. So they made a Hispanic marketing manager position, brought me on. Did that for 2 years. And if you're thinking TV's coming or radio's coming, no, not yet. No, sir. Oliver Luck. You familiar with Oliver Luck?
Of course.
So Andrew Luck's dad, former Oilers quarterback, West Virginia, athletic director, XFL president, NFL Europe.
NCAA.
Yeah, the guy's awesome. And a dear friend to this day. He was looking for a PR guy as he was leading the Harris County Houston Sports Authority. He reached out to John McClain, the Chronicle NFL writer, who recommended me.
Well, another kind of legend in the industry.
Another legend. Again, John McClain, another one of those guys, very instrumental in my career. Very good at that job, I'll be very honest with you. A lot of the jobs I haven't been good at. The PR part of it, I was pretty good.
There is another theme.
Yeah. The PR part, I was good, but there was a sales component I didn't realize I signed up for, and I am not a sales guy. Cold calls and hey, you want to give us money? Not good at that. Hey, you want to do an interview? Great at that, right? That part I excel at. But
hey, you want to buy something?
Not so good at that.
No.
So the sales part of it was difficult for me. So in that transition, I was like, why do I keep jumping from jobs that aren't what I'm about, what I've grown up to do? So what do? I apply for the FBI.
There it is. That's how you circle back.
Yeah.
That's good.
I applied for the FBI, but also for a TV job. And
same career field.
Very different. The FBI part of it was my brother had applied for it, gotten, I think, the phase 3, whatever it is, and got to go to Quantico, and I was like, I got to do that. Like, that sounds awesome.
Right.
So I took a few tests. I had to study. It wasn't the GMAT, but the GMAT was like your prep test for it.
Right.
Passed that, got to phase 2, which was, I believe, a foreign language test at the time. As that is happening, literally like the day or the week of, I get a phone call from the Rockets that they have an opening for a PR spot, and they thought of me. And I got an interview in College Station to do TV at ABC 40, which is now defunct. I think it's ABC 15 now. It's an ABC station here.
It's on YouTube TV.
Some people watch it.
It's ABC.
So I came here and I met with the news director, who was actually stationed out of Waco, Dennis Kinney. And the only video, like, I didn't have a resume tape. Other people had resume tapes.
Right.
I didn't really have one.
Like an audition tape.
Yeah. The only thing I had was stuff I did for the Mavericks, because the Mavericks luckily allowed me to do big events. I did a couple TV things for them.
And they've always got the cameras rolling.
They always got, and I did some in-stadium stuff for them. I did a Spanish show for them, which was not my best Spanish. But I had some things that were sports-related but not news-related. And during the interview, Dennis was like, I know you're good on camera, but what makes you think you can do news?
Right.
And I didn't have an answer. I said, because I'm going to learn. I'm 29 years old at this point. This is my chance. He took a chance on me, and I was in College Station in 2005. The Billy Gillespie, year 2, Fran, Reggie.
That picture they found of you in front of Reed was...
Which picture was that one?
They posted on TexAgs somewhere. It was a couple of weeks ago, or maybe even a month ago. It was a picture of you in this oversized suit, with the shoulder pads, because that's what you're still doing. And you're standing in front of Reed Arena. It was just like a still shot of you doing
I haven't seen that
outside of Reed. Oh yeah, it was on the board. We'll have to find it.
Well,
it's terrible, by the way.
Well,
you're gonna love it.
It's 20 years ago, so but I did that for a little less than a year, and they promoted me to Waco.
You keep getting promoted.
I don't know why. I'm like George Costanza, right?
You're falling up.
Yeah. I'm getting promoted. It was a promotion to go to Waco, but it wasn't, right? It was the big station was there, but I wanted to stay in College Station.
You have to go to Waco.
So I'm in Waco for 2 years, and that's where I kind of, really chopped my teeth, or what do they call it? Cut my teeth. Yeah, not chop my teeth. Cut my teeth. And I really learned how to be an anchor and the pacing, and it took me a while. It was one of those moments where I'm like, I practiced for this moment. So my first time on TV.
Didn't you just freeze?
I never froze. I was just bad.
Oh, well.
Like literally, my first time on TV, I was really good because there was nothing, like there was no news, there was no rehearsal. It was, hey, let's introduce our new sports guy, David Nuno, in the locker room. And our set was like literally like 2 lockers. And I was like, hey guys, David, tell us about you. That part was easy. I was good at that.
Right.
Then when I had to anchor and read off a teleprompter and I had to like write news, I was a train wreck. I was like, and then I may have said this story within the last week on TexAgs.
It's a ringing endorsement of yourself you've got going here.
I'm honest. I know what I'm good at and what I'm not, right? In the beginning, I talk with my hands. I'm a hand talker, but I didn't want to do it on a set because.
Oh, that's what it was. Were you just like?
So like I put my hands here, but my energy had to go somewhere. So it was like freaking Stevie Wonder here, like Jar Jar Binks just moving my head the whole time, and my news director's like, talk with your hands.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, like dude. Like,
are you having a seizure?
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe.
He told me to talk with my hands. I started talking with my hands. By the way, this is in the beginning days of DVR, somewhat beginning days, okay? And you have to realize, like, I'm recording stuff from my studio. I used to do stuff in shorts, and I just put my suit on before I'd go, right? And sometimes, so this is the beginning days of DVR, and I would pause like a play where an Aggie was involved, or a Waco Bear was involved, or a Baylor Bear was involved, and I'd rewind it so I could put it on my highlights. When you pause a lot, you don't realize that real time continues. Mm-hmm. So on the clock, I'm seeing the clock, it says 5:05. All good. I'm like editing. I'm in shorts and like I don't know, basketball shirt for this conversation. Maybe I was just like this, Candy 95. And they go, hey, we went to the tees. Where are you? I'm like, you went to the tees? Where? I don't hit for another 30 minutes. And it hit me like, oh no, I put that suit on. I didn't print out my scripts. I just ran, huffing and puffing. I did the worst tie ever. Boom. And I just did it, right? And the news director calls me and goes, that was your best hit ever. What was different?
I was freaking out.
I go, I just did it. I just did it.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, and that's where I started being like, you don't have to overthink this. At the end of the day, it's
just kind of do it.
I do it with my friends. Like, just talk. Like, and I try to do that. Sometimes when you're anchoring, it can be difficult because nobody talks like with copy, right?
Right.
Today at Texas A&M, nobody talks like at A&M today, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how. I think I've answered like 9 questions with one.
That's how you stop sucking at your job all of a sudden. It's like the epiphany.
It was just that moment like I remembered who I was when I was 12 years old doing it. And I brought that kid onto the set.
There you go. All right, we're going to shift gears here a little bit.
Okay.
A couple things. Your mic's getting close to ejecting again, so I'll give you time in if you want to grab a little nibble or something. And this is one of my favorite topics when I have guests on that are obviously in the same situation, and it is a situation. But you have 4 kids, and that are, from what I can tell, wildly active and going in 4 kids in 12 different directions. But I know that being a parent is one of the most rewarding things on the planet. But we also know that as parents we get angry, right? Mm-hmm. Like the kids screw up. I still screw up, right?
I screw up all the time.
Yeah, I still screw up.
Billy got mad at me a minute ago.
Well, Billy's kind of like dad, I guess.
Yeah.
But when you as you see your kids growing up, and remind me their ages.
So I have twin boys that are 15.
They're the eldest. That's right. The twins are.
12-year-old girl and a 10-year-old girl.
Okay. So 15, 12, and 10. Mm-hmm. And so they're really hitting their stride. Well, some, at 15, obviously they've already been in quite a bit. But they're really starting to, all 3 of them, to really hit their stride in sports or their interests. Mm-hmm. And to you, what's like, we always, some people force their kids to do stuff and, they like want to live vicariously through their kid. I want you to do the sports I did and this and that. But what to you is probably the best part of really just seeing your kids develop and doing, because I know you're not the dad that's like, you're going to play soccer and you're going to do it until you're 18 and that's it.
No, I struggle with it because I think we all.
It's hard. It
is hard. Like, I tell my kids all the time, you're going to be busy. You're not going to be at home watching YouTube.
Right.
So
just find something.
And you're really good at soccer and you're really good at cross country. Let's be the best we can be. Not the best, but the best we can be. And that comes with a level of expectation that I think is probably unfair to kids. But that's the price you have to pay now. Like, I think it's ridiculous that, like, my daughters who are 12 and 10, have regular season games out of the state of Texas. I think it's ridiculous.
That's insane.
It's also a very proud dad moment too. Like, my daughter's pretty good. Like, so there's a little bit of that, right? I always tell them, I go, hey, this is your choice, 100% your choice. But if it's your choice, you have to understand to meet this level, there's work that goes, like right now, I think my sons, I wouldn't say are struggling, but they're trying to manage time between being sophomores in high school with AP classes and all the homework that comes with it, running cross country in the morning. They lift weights every day.
I didn't do cross country or swimming because they were both morning practices. I was like, I'm out.
Well, they do that in the morning.
That was never going to happen.
They do soccer in 7th period, and they have club soccer. So, like, they're busy, and they're doing homework till midnight, and I just think it's a lot on their plate. And so I have to remind them, like, where's your happy spot? For my boys...
You need to be a kid.
Yeah.
You're still a kid.
But for my boys, it is soccer. That's what makes them happy.
Well, that's helpful.
My youngest, Isla, who's probably, and again, she's 10. We'll see how she is in 2 years, 4 years, but she's really gifted at soccer. She doesn't work at all. Like it infuriates me, like how good she is, and like
without putting in any effort.
Yeah, and how good, much better she could be.
Yeah,
right? Like
that's when the parent gear kicks in. You're
like, dude,
just please,
just work, just allow
a little. Let's just start here.
And she'll work a little, but like she doesn't want it to mess with her social calendar. Like, I want to go to my friend's house, and I should be totally okay with that. She's 10. Of course you want to do that.
So
but like, there's a balance.
It's like your kids require you to self-develop and continuously like be a better you and be a better parent you.
But I also want to make sure she recognizes that her athletic skills at 10 aren't going to be the same ones when she's 17. So there is work that is required to stay at this level. That's a fact. Like, she's not going to be 6 feet tall. She's going to be small. She's probably always going to be fast. But you have to work if you want.
I never had that problem.
No, you were tall.
I was never going to be fast.
Were you 6 feet tall when you came out of the womb?
Close, 5'10".
Pretty close.
So we're going to kind of wrap this up a little bit, but I want to touch on one more thing.
Yeah.
Because I think it's such an important part of your story is really your ties both to Miami, but then also to Cuba.
Yep.
And I know it's a super long story, and I know you told, but I want you to kind of hit on really the main points of really your Cuban background and your grandfather and your father, and I hate to say, like, please give me the summarized, but just...
Yeah. So my dad escaped in 1960 from Cuba. He was 30. My dad is still alive. He's 93 years old. I'm very blessed.
And you did the
Heritage Film.
Heritage Films with him. Yeah.
He's awesome. Like my mom and dad I'm just so blessed. And the hardest part for taking the job at TexAgs was moving away because we lived down the street from them for most of my kid's life. But my dad had escaped. I wouldn't say that he ever lived in a democracy before the United States, but he lived in a different Cuba under Batista and from when Castro took over and really made them a communist state. And he was a part of the revolt, and he had to escape. And he had some scary moments. My mom had to leave. She didn't have to escape, but she had to leave with nothing on her back. Like she came with the clothes on her back, and that was it. My dad had to escape. And he was a very educated, 30-year-old man when he came here. Patriot. He considers the United States his country. Even though we're Cuban, he considers the United States. Do we dream of days of being able to go back to Cuba, that it's a democracy? Sure, but my dad has spent most of his life in the United States. Right. He believes in our system, and as much as we love Cuba, you asked about Miami, I consider Miami my Cuba because all the Cubans moved there, so every summer growing up, that's where I went. So as a kid, I was either going to go to A&M or the University of Miami. University of Miami, a private school, probably wasn't going to be able to afford that, but A&M and Miami are the two schools, and they couldn't be completely different types of people, like, weather, people,
it's literally everything.
Yeah, it's everything, right?
Yeah.
But they represent me. They represent both parts of me, right? I have more than two parts, but they represent a big part of me. So to me, it was very important for my kids every summer or every other summer to go to South Florida to see our family there.
Experience it too. It's such a huge Cuban influence in Miami. Absolutely. If you don't know that, then I don't know what rock you live under. But okay, so we're gonna wrap this up. But I would love to bring you back on and really just do a whole thing about your dad, just kind of the whole story. I think it's fantastic. And again, it's a plug for Heritage Films. It really is. Them kind of doing that high level documentary.
2-hour documentary. Chance McLean.
There you go.
Who's a dear friend.
So real quick, I asked every the swinger, right?
No. Dr. Willick is not the swinger.
Yeah, John Wish.
Bernard Wish.
Bernard Wish.
I don't know if he's a swinger. He just owned a club. I don't want him to come after me.
Bernard is.
He owned Wish's nightclub, which apparently turned into anyway.
Yuck. So real quick, and I asked all my guests this: do you cook?
Yes and no.
Okay. If you're throwing a barbecue and people are coming over and you have like dignitaries, so you got to do the best you've ever done. What's your like a go-to recipe for ribs?
No, I don't.
No ribs.
Okay. That's the go-to recipe for ribs. So
ribs, real estate, ramblings. I'm gonna start taking ribs off because none of my guests know how to do ribs. It's unbelievable. Do you bring sides? What do you bring? Like some Cubano, maybe?
Yes, I cook for my kids when I have to, and I cook.
So you're bringing mac and cheese, probably?
Yeah, mac and cheese, and I meal prep. I do a lot of chicken. A lot of chicken.
That's not shocking whatsoever.
Yeah, on the grill.
Oh, okay, fair enough. So last thing, if you have any charities or any events coming up or TexAgs or anything y'all got coming up, give you 15, 30 seconds, look straight in the camera and let people know what's going on either in your life or with TexAgs, it's fine, whatever you want.
Well, TexAgs Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. What's going on in my life is we're real big with the American Heart Association. My daughter was in near drowning in 2014. She had to be airlifted. I did not know how to do CPR. So that's really an organization that's very dear to our hearts. My wife did CPR on my daughter in front of me and saved her life. So I've learned how to do it. They have a CPR Anytime kit through the American Heart Association. Highly recommend people learn how to do it because you never know when you're in that scenario.